I mean, it's a bit psychotic.
Okay. Well, maybe we just go with that.
Keep it in.
Yeah, that can be it. That'll be the start. We'll try and think of something better next week. They come around quick these weeks, don't they? It's like...
These weeks come around quick.
Yeah.
Go on, sorry.
It just seems like we filmed it and then we're doing the next one. And obviously we are, but it's just been very quick. Weeks go very quick when you're in lockdown. I suppose it's because we do, like I normally do the kind of little intro graphics a few days after the video, and then it's round to talking about it again.
You're spoiling it all. You're spoiling all the mystery for people.
How do you think people think that we do them? Do you think I actually just sketch them?
Yeah.
Have you filmed me sketch them?
That's what people think happen.
Yeah, I suppose. That'd be, it'd be nice if I could do that, but I'm not quite as good as that.
No.
So, the 1934.
What are we talking about this week?
1934.
Wow.
The 1934. I actually watched a YouTuber the other day and they were doing a lot of hand actions. So maybe we do need to do this more.
The whole video, I'm going to talk like this.
1934. So we've only moved on 5 years. So not a massive amount of time, but obviously what happened in that time, you know? World was in a Great Depression. A lot of people didn't
Similar
have
to what we're all going through right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar time in terms of recession and things like that. But obviously, out of that, there will always be people that do quite well for themselves. So, you know, the kind of Art Deco movement came along. There's a lot of kind of decadent things going on. And so I think that's kind of reflected in our 1934. It's probably would you say it's the dressiest watch we've done? Like in terms of it?
Do you not think the 29 is that's definitely the more decorative?
I wouldn't say it's a shiny though. That's the only thing. Like the 1934 had like sparkles coming off it from every angle. It was multifaceted.
The 34 was definitely a bit more, what's the word, pared back. It's just a little bit, the dial's a bit more stripped.
Yeah, it doesn't have the kind of patterning on that the 1929 had. But it's, in my eye, it's one of my favorites. It's the kind of subtle beauty that I love about the 1934.
It's very comfortable to wear, isn't it?
Yeah, and obviously you'll get onto it later in terms of the design, so I'm not going to ruin anything, but I just, it kind of moved things along to like get us down a road where we kind of, felt comfortable going, but I really liked how it looked and how it like caught the light and everything, and it was just a beautiful watch. I still wear it now, although I'm not wearing it today. Don't like it that much. So this was the first year we did lots of things actually on this watch. I mean, every year we try and do new things, so we don't just do the same stuff every year. We kind of take the best bits from that year and think, right, well, how are we going to make that even better next year? And so this year we brought out a video, which is exciting. We had a proper
launch.
Yeah. We had a proper production crew came to film us for the weekend.
Yeah, that was good.
I don't know whether it is because of where we lived in Shropshire, but every time we seem to do these activities, whether they be photo shoots or videos, it's always about -5 outside, which is always pretty hard to do when you're trying to pretend like you're in a nice warm environment and the sun's shining and you really, really want to be there, when in actual fact you can't feel your face. And so that was also the same as the day we decided to film. So we had a production crew came up from London.
Burning Reel.
3 of them were there.
3 of the guys from Burning Reel.
Yeah.
We camped out in almost a semi-abandoned barn, didn't we? And set up our workshop inside and got you building the whole weekend and filmed it all.
We did. I will show you. I have got a folder with some behind the scenes photos that people probably won't have seen. So can you see this?
Yes, I can. You in your bubble hat.
And my bowler hat. That's not what I wore in the video, but this was just the kind of initial setup of like basically taking the assembly desk that we kind of had and taking it to this abandoned barn. Obviously, we got the permission of the owners of the barn, but it was, yeah, there was not a lot in it, no real windows or anything. And so it was
But it set the tone,
absolutely.
didn't it?
It was, sorry?
It set the tone, though.
Yeah, it absolutely. Like we wanted it to look like this really old-fashioned warehouse almost that we, back in the 30s that we were kind of assembling these in, just to kind of give it that authentic look, really, from being 1934. So yeah, it was all like we kind of set up exactly how we would have back at the workshop. But yeah, it was just very cold. Hence why I'm wearing a bobble hat and a jacket. And so I think you took these photos, didn't you?
Well, I was part of the production crew, I guess, that weekend. So you were the star.
That was the star.
Yeah, so we were basically busy shooting, cataloging everything. It was all very professional, wasn't it? We had so many toys to play with.
It was like there was a few photos of some of those toys in a bit, and they were really exciting. And it's kind of quite nice to actually see the toys that get used, because when you actually see the video afterwards, it's like, oh, that's how they did that. Because when they told us their ideas, and we were like, yeah, that sounds really good, but I'm not sure how you're going to do that. So, but they absolutely nailed it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what point this was during the day, but it got so late that we ended up having to use natural fake sunlight in this window over here. The sun was going down and we needed it to look consistent. So we basically blacked off this window in the end, didn't we? And just had like
so this could have literally been like 1 a.m. right now.
Yeah, it could have, but it looks like a beautiful, gorgeous sunrise. And then here, look at that camera. That was a really nice camera. But you can already kind of start to see here the track that they put it on so that it could kind of pan seamlessly, just incredibly smoothly. What was that? Something like 40 grand camera or something?
I mean, we were spoiled, weren't we, that weekend?
Absolutely. Like, there's no way we'd normally be able to get kind of cameras like that.
No.
And there we go. That's the track. So that was to get the kind of almost like stop motion effect so that we could, I think he went, did it go something like 0.8 millimeters a second, something like that?
Yeah, well, it didn't look like it was moving. It was brilliant.
Yeah. And then at the end of it, you see the video of like us putting this watch together, and it's like, whoa. You can actually see here on the ground here, I've got some fingerless gloves there between shots just to keep my fingers warm. A bit like how Formula One cars have their tires warmed, like when they come into the pit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like all these amazing monitors, because am I right in thinking this monitor showed how it would look?
I mean, they have their own kind of like grade applied to them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because I remember like saying, "Oh, we've got the first shot. Do you want to come and look?" And obviously, you see it with the lights on, and it kind of looks quite stark. But then you look at it behind this monitor, and you're like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" Because I think they might have brought some kind of like a bit of a smoke machine as well, didn't they? Like a hazer or something.
We had hazer. We had lots of different rigs, lots of lenses.
Yeah, and that hazer though, it kind of looked a bit daft at first. It just looked like we were going to be in like a foggy room. But when you actually looked at it through the back of this monitor, it was like, whoa! It looks like we've just made a movie.
Yeah.
There's me in my gloves there. Just some more shots just to try and get the different angles. It was like a 2-day event, but obviously we needed to get some outside shots as well as the inside shots. So here is me in the outside courtyard. I know this looks like a really fancy house, and it is a very nice farmyard, but this was the one building they had that hadn't actually done anything with, so it was completely empty. Well, I think it's now a wedding venue. I think they've done it up since we since we were there. But yeah, the second day we were kind of shooting outside, so they had this incredible like steady cam, which just meant everything just looked like it was straight out of Hollywood, which was fantastic because we would have never been able to do that with kind of mobile phones and the kind of equipment we had.
No.
And then these were just some stills of the said video, but you can kind of see this with the hazer on. Like that was basically exactly the same as the photos that you took, Sam, but this was obviously through their camera. And I think this has had the grade applied to it actually at this point, so obviously it's going to look a lot nicer.
But it really gets across everything we wanted to.
I haven't watched this video for so long, and I put it on when I was kind of putting this folder together. Look at that. Look at that enigma walking down that drive. Yeah, annoyingly, it was really cloudy that day, but it actually worked to our advantage because it kind of looked really quite spooky. And then obviously this was afterwards in the grading suite, having it all like properly nicely graded and all the scenes matched up and everything. Again, very lucky to have been able to have that assistance. So that was kind of the behind the scenes, and I'm now going to try and play it to you. I presume we can talk over the top of it, but whether or not people want us to talk over the top of it.
Well, if they want to go and see it, this could be the director's commentary. If you want to go see this film in real life, check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/WT Author.
Okay, I'm gonna play. Is this working? Can you see this?
Beautiful.
Little birds tweeting.
As you walking down.
Well, that was actually the drive. That was the drive of where I used to live. That was like how fortunate we were every day to walk down that drive, which was pretty nice.
Hanging your apron on.
Yeah, do this every day.
Oh, I forgot how good the music was.
I know.
There he is.
See, these are the tracking shots that we were telling you about. They just move.
Imagine if you did actually manage to build the watches that fast.
Let's show you a bit more of those screens. But yeah, the amount of takes I had to do because it's just not that easy to do it when the kind of cameras are on.
Yeah. Admiring your work.
This is a really cool bit though, that music. Look how young I look there.
Beautiful watch.
But all those bits just now, like I was basically just moving around, not really doing anything, just to kind of get the reflections in the watch so that it looked like something was going on.
So you leave with the watch on your wrist, you enter with the watch not on your wrist, and you leave with the watch on your wrist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I stop presenting, I think it's just...
Stop presenting. Got the quick national anthem going on.
That was quite weird that came. That was the music over the top of it. We just thought we'd do it to the national anthem because we're so patriotic. But yeah, all of those shots where I'm kind of setting the hands, normally that's relatively easy because you kind of have warm hands and a steady, kind of fairly steady. But I was so cold that I was just like, literally like throwing the hands across the desk because I couldn't keep hold of them anymore.
And you had like 3 or 4 people ordering you what to do.
I know, and then I'd get it in the right place, and then I'd like set it with the hand setting tools, and I just wouldn't have it in exactly the right place, and it wouldn't take. And obviously, when they're filming it, as soon as I take my hand away, the hands just kind of fell off, and it would have just looked like the worst thing in the world. So I had to make sure that it was actually on the stem. But I just could not keep my hands still, and then I was getting so frustrated. But no, I think
tired, but worth it.
But 2 days that was 2 days filming for a 1:30 video. Kind of makes you think about big Hollywood films, how long they take to film, because that wouldn't even have been a scene in a film. That 1:30.
No.
But no, it did the job. Like it was.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. Went down.
I mean, because we'd done videos previously, but it was the first time we'd got like an outside party to come and help us.
Yeah, and boy did they. So what else have I got in the vaults? I can show you some photos. Well, actually, I'll show you. I've kind of been showing you about the hero shots and kind of the stuff that goes behind them. I'm just going to show you this very small gallery. Can you see that?
Yes.
So this is on 1934 green.
Sold out green.
this was the absolute daddy of a watch. Like, everyone wanted this watch.
Yeah.
And,
everyone still wants that watch.
well, exactly. And you can't get it anymore. It's gone. This really is confined to the vaults. But we always take one with us when we kind of travel around the country, and people are still like, can I have that one? And we're like, I'm sorry, that one's sold out. And yeah, we just get people offering us silly money for these. So if you've got one, well done for getting one in time. But it's just, oh my God, the color combination. I don't think we were even going to do a watch that was that color, but we just at the last minute thought, why not?
Yeah.
And then it was just like crazy, like how many people wanted. So yeah, so that was the kind of angle that we always talk about in the last few videos that I always like to do now, just to kind of have a nice consistent look over all of them so we can compare them. This was the back of the blue one. I'm not going to really talk about this because Sam will talk about this later, but just how the back looks. This was one of the hero shots that we have in our booklet that comes with the watches. And all of the watches were photographed on original book covers from 1934. So there was kind of Tropic of Capricorn, Tender as the Night, things like that. But this one was kind of a little bit more abstract. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Firstly, it's green, which kind of is perfect. But also I just love the kind of shapes. But if you actually pull back on this was actually Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express, which you read the story in the 1934 booklet that comes with the watch. That whole chapter is around about this kind of chance meeting with this lady on a train. And it's kind of very similar to the
loosely based.
Yeah, loosely based on the circumstances that inspired Agatha Christie writing this. This novel. So yeah, just a tiny little snippet into the photography there. I don't know whether you want to start chatting about the watch before I give loads away.
Yeah, no, I need to set up my phone real quick, so bear with me.
That's okay. I'll just make wild hand movements.
Can you see this okay?
Yeah, I can see those.
Right.
Beautiful.
So the 5 1934s, the 4 1929s for comparative purposes. So it's the first collection we did. Not only did we introduce another automatic in the range, but it was the first time we'd introduced a whole other colorway with the green 1934 at the back here. So like we said earlier, this one's completely sold out. So the one I'm actually holding here is my edition. We allow ourselves one, seeing as we run this brand. It would be rude not to, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still in demand, but it's part of our brand. Once it's gone, it's gone. Yeah, we're never going to make this watch again.
I still think my favorite thing about this watch is that it kind of evolves the cushion case from the 1929 and it just takes it that step further. Like, I just love how it catches the light. Like, it just looks so amazing.
Like, this is the first case we've done that steps away from the wire lugs. So we don't have these authentic wire with the riveted straps. This is the first time we've actually got almost a modern interpretation of what a wristwatch should be, with a spring bar construction on a more refined leather strap, but it still retains that cushion. Like, we didn't want to step away from this cushion shape. We just wanted to modernize it, basically. So you've got more.
I think I'm right in saying that looks can be deceiving on these watches. If you actually measure the lug to the lug on the 1929, it's pretty much the same as the actual kind of shoulder to shoulder on the 1934. Yeah. It's just enabled by having that bigger case. It's now enabled to have a bigger dial, and the watch does look bigger, even though the actual imprint of the watch is the same size. Yeah,
it's the cases. It's the dial closure that's like smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So because we've got like all kinds of decorative features such as the coinage on the 1929, it adds to that the weight that we've placed on the bezel area, where it's like we've put this cushion case on a bit of a diet and kind of slimlined it a bit. It's a lot thinner than the 29, and it's also a lot more open. And we've mixed around with lots of different finishes like we usually do as well. So we've got things like the polished features on the shoulders, but the actual top part of the case is brushed and then back to polished again for the bezel. So anything to sort of allow the light to capture it, we basically throw at it, really.
I think that's the key there, is the kind of, just by changing those surface textures,
Yeah.
almost hides and then kind of unveils certain parts of it depending on where the light hits it. So you kind of, one instance you think, oh, it looks like this, and then you'll kind of change the angle and you're like, oh my God, no, it looks like it's a square, and now it looks like a circle. Like, it just keeps changing, which is what I love about this watch.
Yeah. And even though this is the quartz edition, it hasn't sort of stopped its popularity at all.
No.
Automatics have pretty much overtaken the popularity of the quartz editions in our range, but this has always been a popular one, based purely on color. And then next to that, we've got the automatic edition, which we chose with the blue colorway this year. So this was a lot more inkier than previous blue editions that we've done. Again, lots of different finish, difference with the finishes and textures we've applied to the watch. So it's just like, it's really, it picks up all these highlights so well, no matter what angle it's at.
We also were quite fortunate in that the leather, you can, because leather's a natural material, you can never fully gauge what color it's going to be when you end up getting it. And that leather was just an amazing kind of color for the dial of that watch. And also incredibly soft as well. That leather's just like the softest leather you'll ever find.
Yeah, we only built 100 of this edition, and there's not many left of this guy. So,
do you want to show the back of that one?
Yeah, I do want to show the back actually.
Yeah.
So first time we'd utilised the screw down case back. So we basically, instead of sorry, not screw down, but individual screws on the watch itself. I already pick it up. But yeah, we're not screwing down the entire case back, but they're all individually placed down on each corner and fixed to keep this dial at the same position instead of rotated around.
But we haven't compromised anything there. Like, they're all still 10 ATM water resistant, like exactly the same as the ones before them. But we just, we wanted it to make sure that A was always at the 12 o'clock position.
Yeah.
That is that's an absolute doozy.
So this was the basic follow-up to the black that I had earlier, actually.
Yeah.
So with the two automatics. Yeah, always popular.
It seems strange now, looking back, to think that we only had one automatic in the range.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
Pretty weird. And then we've got the white edition. There's a quartz that we built 125 of. The gold case, the black strap, the white dial. Lots of contrast on the dial.
So that's as close as you'd get to the 1934 green if you wanted a 1934 green, because that was the only other one that came with the gold case.
Yeah, and you can we have customers chopping and changing the strap colors all the time. So
yeah, if you wanted a brown one, you could have a brown one. You could have a very similar to the
I really like this one.
That's because you love black, Sam. That's your favorite color.
It's this edition with the brown strap, which is so nice. I like it.
But again, it looks totally different to like the gold and the silver cases, even though they're the same. Like, that almost doesn't shine quite as much as the other ones. That's kind of a little bit more pared back. But it's more that when you look at it, you're like, oh, okay. Like, it kind of almost takes a little bit of kind of figuring out, because the kind of black hides certain features, but it's kind of more subtle, I'd say, that watch. But yeah, when you actually look at the details, you're then like, whoa, that looks amazing.
I think this takes us into a more casual territory as well. It doesn't look as dressy this
Mhm. Yeah, that gold and white is far more dress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess this one is actually probably the most casual. I really love the strap color on this one.
Yeah, that was
But
the
this
first
is
year we went from tan to taupe. Subtle difference, but a difference nonetheless.
they've got this one's got more of a champagne-y dial than the white edition. So it's just like a sort of slightly off-white on a silver case.
And that would probably be the equivalent of the 1929 cream, wouldn't it? Really, in terms of like the move on.
Yeah. Yeah, so this would be the move on for this guy over here.
Which you can see actually when you look at them, you can absolutely see how that's developed.
Mm.
Nice.
Very nice. But yeah, we use sun rays on all of those, so we always changing texture with every collection we bring out.
Yeah. And we've gone for more extruded flagship markers now applied.
Yeah, these aren't just printed or applied. These are or labeled. These are applied onto the dial.
Mm-hmm.
You can see.
Which is kind of what we wanted. We wanted to evolve every year, so that every year it almost like extrudes a little bit more and kind of just takes shape a little bit more.
This dial's domed as well. You can just about see that.
Oh yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'm gonna head back to the computer now.
I just have a few photos to kind of do with those. Not really a lot, but I'll just share with you here. This, I presume you can see this on your screen.
Oh, there I am.
I know I keep checking, but just I think last time sometimes it didn't pop up, so I will keep checking. That we took ourselves off to the Oxfordshire countryside to design the 1934. Took all the kind of previous models with us to kind of, as inspiration of what we were going to do, and just locked ourselves away for the weekend. And yeah, it was kind of really annoying. This place was amazing. Literally had the most fantastic pub down the road, and it only just got on Airbnb, and it was far too cheap for what it should have been, because we tried to go back the next year, and I think she put the price up by about 4 times. So this was the only time we went there, but we had the whole house to ourselves and just, came up with the 1934. It's always quite nice to know where we were when we came up with these designs, because everything kind of blurs into one a little bit. This was just a photo of the tiny little hex screws that go in the 1934s, which is what we moved towards. I just wanted to show you just how tiny that was compared to a 5-pence piece. So we have to, and you can buy tools to open these, but the tolerances are so big on such a tiny little thing that we actually kind of file our own down to make sure that they fit exactly right. So and then these are just a batch of new movements that we bought to put in the 1934 automatics, and there's the 1934 blue dials. And then there I am wearing the black 1934 Sam.
And you're making one.
Yeah, and there's me putting
on. Artisan storyteller, right?
Yeah, that was he came and did a bit of a photo shoot with us.
Yeah.
Which I think they came out really nicely, these photos. It just kind of really shows how we do what we do, because when we kind of tell people what we do, I'm sure some people are like, yeah, whatever. But it's like, no, we do. Like every watch that you order from us, like gets put together. And we go, apart from like the mesh straps, which obviously we have a partner that makes those, but all the leather straps we make, we have huge leather hides that we cut and stamp things out of. But yeah, just me putting the watch together there.
Here you are.
And then what else have I got? Just briefly, this was just to show. This was how we moved away now from riveted straps.
Wowzer!
I know, to stitch straps, because we're no longer having these wire loops. We have a conventional spring bar. We can now we're now able to go to a stitch strap. Before, we had to rivet the straps on. There was no other real way because you had to put the straps on afterwards. Whereas now, obviously, you can flick a spring bar out and put these straps in. But the whole idea was that I'm sure I'm right in thinking, because I'm sure I did the research on this, but the spring bar was invented in the 30s. So it's kind of quite a nice era to decide we were going to do this as well, to bring these kind of stitch straps in. And then from then on, actually, we haven't gone back to riveting. They've always been stitched in some capacity. But yeah, they just kind of make things a little bit, not neater, but just kind of a little bit more finished. And I think the idea was that we really wanted to evolve the strap as the years went by. And I think one way of doing that was to kind of neaten things up and, kind of move them on a little bit.
Yeah, play with color, material. Just this techniques in actually constructing them has to evolve.
Exactly.
Watch.
And so, like, you'll see in later lines how we've kind of moved that on again, and I'm sure there'll be times where we'll move that on even further. In fact, we've already started thinking about that for possible future watches.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the 1934.
1934.
I don't have any other folders to show you, I'm afraid.
Well, yeah, it's quite an accomplished design, wasn't it? It was sort of like the first step into like the more modern interpretation of watches we've been producing. It's sort of like marked the beginning of like the next phase.
And I think what I kind of touched on at the end of the last video was that we have this timeline of watches, and we always have a start point and we have a kind of end point in terms of the chapters. And sometimes when we're doing that, you're kind of thinking, how do we get from that point to that point? Like, we've almost got ourselves into a bit of a corner now, but this was the kind of transition watch, which was like, okay, how are we going to get to the more modern looking watches that you see with spring bars? And I love how it's evolved from the 1929 in terms of like taking that cushion case into this like almost like a machined edge on the 1934 case. Yeah, it just evolves really nicely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, what are we discussing next week?
Next week's quite exciting. Not that they're not all exciting, but next week is
probably our favourite.
Wearing mine now,
the 1940,
which is the 1940, which kind of opened up quite a lot of new doors to us. Really, it's almost like within the watch world, there's kind of like almost like a niche within itself that is pilots' watches, and I think it opened us up to being able to go into that, going through that door really, as something which we hadn't really done before. So that was quite exciting. Plus more color coming up next week. Just making full use of my hands, more color.
Well, we begin playing with modularity, don't we, in the construction?
Yeah, the most complicated watch by far. And yeah, more mechanicals, more watches actually, far more watches than we've done before.
Yeah.
So yes, that's exciting coming up. I'm pretty sure I've got lots of photos of things that we did from the 1940s. So there'll be plenty of stuff to go through and to chat about. So hopefully you've enjoyed the 1934.
Loved it, John.
See you again next week for the 1940.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.